Welcome to SciTech Culture with Steve Kern and Ben Warner, where we examine science, technology and culture in the 21st century. Visit our website at scitechculture.com. Well, I'm trying something a little different today. You can see I've got my, different background, just sort of twisted my little position here that I normally record in. Interestingly enough, if you go through the back episode, Steve, I did shoot in this direction previously, but it was a lot harder back in those days to get the camera to balance my face and the background for exposure. Still not perfect, but thanks to the sort of iPhone's auto detection and auto color correcting whatever it does while it's filming, I can do this. And on top of that, I can run some filters over it in Final Cut afterwards.
It looks pretty good. I've got to give it that. And considering you haven't got 4K of light bombarding you from the other direction, what's not to love?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, want to start with podcasting. Just a brief thing. Obviously, I think we've discussed this before. That it's and I've seen it echoed online recently, and just wanted to mention that it's interesting that I guess we started this as a way to have discussions that are captured. So in other words, we would have these discussions anyway, and we've put this into a structured format, I guess, so that we can make a video out of it, more or less. And it's a way to, maintain the fact that we can still keep having these discussions in, two very sort of different places that are split by so many X hundred kilometers or whatever. And I find that that's actually it's such a good thing with today's technology that we can do that sort of thing. And I've really appreciated that, it's something that's just so easy to do now, especially with today's technology. Even it was easy when we started, it's so much easier now, kind of thing.
Well, 10 years ago, those first episodes, we were sending mini DV tapes backwards and forwards. So it's pretty incredible to think how easy it is now. And even more so to think that, you're using several cameras for this vodcast now, all at once. Audio, and it's all cheap, easy, and probably quicker to produce than it was 10 years ago. So it's that just goes to show you how far technology has come.
Absolutely. So I guess I want to, sticking with podcasting, and I just want to go into our sort of first topic, which is simultaneously amusing and disturbing at the same time. Obviously, someone who also enjoys having discussions with guests and has turned it into arguably the biggest podcast in the world is Joe Rogan and his podcast. And, the big news, obviously, was that he tested positive for COVID. And I don't want to dwell on this too much because there's so much entertaining commentary online about this. But what I wanted to, given that we do podcasting as well, and I'm not saying that we're anywhere in the same level of league as him in terms of viewership, nowhere near close or anything like that. But it did make me wonder that, he posted his experience online, said what happened. He said he threw everything at it in terms of treatments and whatever. And I was just wondering in that context, and I think this has kind of been brought out in the commentary as well, that I don't know if in my position, if I had hundreds of millions of people listening into everything I'm saying and respecting what my opinion is on something, whether it would be wise to do what he did, which was to tout his experience with, the types of treatments that he was talking about, when it's all completely anecdotal, but it kind of passes itself off as, oh, well, if you do what I did, you could have the same result,
Yeah, look, I think, you're pretty desperate when you start taking ivermectin and claiming it's protecting you when you didn't think you needed any protection in the first place. But I think the real lesson here for everyone is you get vaccinated or you're on your own, and you resorting to Facebook memes and various tropes that there's veterinary pharmaceuticals that can help you. It's ridiculous.
But what about the idea that he's using his platform, even if he says, I don't think it's enough for him to say afterwards, I'm a moron, I don't know anything. It feels like to me that he should be a little bit more responsible with what he's saying to his listeners if they're hanging on his words, if that makes sense.
Yeah, look, I don't know. We can't judge his audience without having met them all personally, but if they don't I would hope that they'll be able to take a step backwards and just see the perspective. And the perspective is that if there's nothing to see, look where he's ended up.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself is a valuable lesson.
Actually, maybe I should qualify that by saying that obviously there's lots of platforms that, provide their opinions on what to do. But the thing is they stick to it. Whereas he's throwing in a caveat that, what do I know?
That's right.
It's like he's trying to have it both ways kind of thing.
Well, I think because he knows that he said some silly things at the start, and now he's been caught out. And I guess then you start you're clutching at straws like he has, and then pretending you don't know anything. When obviously you don't, but he should be really getting out there now and setting the record straight.
Well, I guess that'll happen after he's had his full experience, because I think he's still in the middle of the, the period where it's still affecting him. So I guess we'll see what happens after, another week and a half, and he pops up on one of his episodes again to talk about.
Well, sure we'll see then. Yeah.
All right, so let's keep moving along, and love this topic that you sent through about ABBA's new completely change the topic, of course. ABBA's new sort of virtual concert reunion that they've got going, and it's interesting that this. I don't know if there's other examples of it that's already happened, but it's the first one that I guess I've seen. But it's interesting that it hasn't happened sooner, given that there's this type of technology has been used in films, for instance, to get older actors to play younger versions of themselves, etc. And it makes perfect sense that you would apply that technology to, say, a band or a musicians or whatever that are, much older than when they first started and were at the height of their success, and they can effectively replicate the experience from in this case, the 70s, say, in a virtual concert, and people can just get right back into their music.
Oh, yeah, look, let's face it. Today, with the audio filters that are available and with the visual technologies that are available, the days probably also of being somewhere up the back of a stadium and seeing some little ants, performing, 400 metres away are over as well. This is the start of, I think, personalised concerts, How amazing is it that they can perform and yet you can visualise that performance as they were at their prime? I mean, there's no, when it comes, I guess, to any artistic performance, every artist wants to perform at their best, to give their best to their audience, and the audience wants the best from the performer. And to me, I think this is probably one of the most positive entertainment stories in a long time. It will reconnect audiences with artists, and it will ensure the quality of the performance is every bit as wonderful as the audience expects, and that's what entertainment's all about. So, and we're big proponents of technology. It's fantastic.
And not to mention that you've got different almost formats to experience this in as well. Whereas, like you said, in the past, you'd have to go to a concert hall or a park or something, wherever they hold the concert, and just watch it from afar. You could do that still if you wanted to, but you could also, strap on a pair of goggles or something and be immersed in a VR simulation and watch them up close. And that's quite astounding.
Or even online concerts, where they perform online and you get to see the avatars and be there, like you say, with, AR or VR sort of headsets. It's amazing. And we'll see. I mean, this gives new life to, I guess, old acts. And, you can expect now that in rock and roll, no one will ever grow old.
Indeed. All right, let's move to technology that I've found frustrating. And we were talking about this before we got on, but I don't know what Microsoft's doing, but it seems like they want people like me to not use Windows going forward, it would seem. But there was, they did provide warning, but obviously there's a whole furor around their arbitrary system requirements for Windows 11. Largely, it seems to be around the TPM chip and the I guess, the cutoff point for which generation of processors were still going to be good for it. I discovered this week through my own experience. Now, obviously, I've mentioned before on many of our previous episodes, I'm on Macs. That's what I use predominantly, but I still keep a foothold in Windows by virtualizing it in parallels on both of them. Now, I found out on the iMac that Windows 11 isn't supported because I've got a 7th gen Intel processor on it. Happy with that. I can ride that off. I can ride Windows 10 into the sunset on that one, given the iMac's already 4 years old and there's another 5 years of support of Windows 10. But I was a little frustrated today when I saw your device is not eligible to join the Windows Insider program on Windows 11, which is actually the only way to run an ARM-based version of Windows on an M1 Mac, which is the laptop I'm using right now for the podcast. And basically, there's no recourse. And I think that Parallels may come up with a software solution to account for the TPM chip side of things, basically virtualizing one. They do claim that they had put that in their current version of the software, and for some reason it just doesn't work. And I've looked up forums, etc., and can't find it. All of this just seems to me a little bit clunky on Microsoft's part, because it kind of sends a message for people that were testing on unsupported hardware. They were happy for people to do that testing, but to then say, see you later. Thanks for everything you gave us, but see you later is a little bit unfortunate, shall we say. And I think they should be a little bit, given that I'm going to make the differentiation here that macOS and Apple is different, because right from the outset, Apple doesn't make any bones about the fact that once it's cut off, it's cut off. And it's usually tied with hardware. These guys, Microsoft's really all about inclusiveness in terms of the user base. They want as many users using their products as possible. And I get that they want to set some arbitrary limits at some point to push people along, but the way they did it was just, let's just say, it left a lot to be desired.
Well, it was quite funny. I think this could be a case of the engineering department communicating directly with the outside world, not having gone through a comms channel. Because the way you explained it to me, it sounded like exactly that: arbitrary software specifications listed, and sorry, you can't use any more message beneath that. I don't think any comms department, if it had been run through that, would have left a message quite the same. So I'm taking it that this, whatever it's called, the Future Windows, forum or whatever it is basically it's it's an engineering ploy, and they've communicated directly with their users.
I mean, it's, first world problems and all. I mean, effectively, Windows 10 and Windows 11 share the same code base. So it's not as if, you're not getting sort of the fancy visual interface that you are, it's nicer and all of that sort of thing. And obviously, Windows 10 is still going to be around for another 5 years, etc. So it's not too big a deal. It's not as if you can't use Windows if you don't want to. It just seems to me a little bit strange the way they went about it, given, if you remember that whole presentation that they gave a couple of months ago, touting the virtues of it all and how wonderful it all is and all that, and then to sort of go through this whole clunky process of and you come away from it thinking, can I run it? I don't know. Can I? I guess they have to tell you when they email you and say, "No, sorry, your PC's been identified as it can't be upgraded." It's an
unfortunate situation, I guess. I don't know where we go from that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, my rant's over. I'll just keep using Mac OS going forward. All right. And finally, I wanted to throw in a bit of science here, mainly because in lockdown, I've been watching a lot of and streaming a lot of documentaries and other YouTube clips around black holes. We've talked about them before. It's a fascinating part of the universe that I've always found intriguing, largely because of the fact that it presents scenarios of perceptual experience that are so outside of our own sort of lived experience on Earth, in the sense that things start to happen around black holes that seemingly don't make perceptual sense in the sense of what ends up happening. The time shifts, the intensity of the gravity, that nothing can escape, all that sort of thing. So there was a documentary I watched on Netflix called The Edge of All We Know for Black Holes, and it basically covered two stories. One was which I think we've touched on before, the journey to getting the first image of a black hole, which when you see the amount of effort they had to go to construct that image is really incredible. But equally incredible was another aspect that they covered, which was the attempt to solve the information paradox, which is essentially, an idea that Stephen Hawking came up with, which flies. I guess it's sort of contradicts, but it bumps up against what physics sort of suggests, which is energy information is not destroyed or created; it's just transferred, which doesn't seem to happen with a black hole, because it seems like if it goes into a black hole, it's destroyed. And the thing that was fascinating about watching these theoretical physicists try to solve this particular problem was trying to overcome that particular issue. And it was quite interesting what they came up with, which was, it might be flattened on the surface of the, I'm going to bastardize it here, but it doesn't get lost. It's like it gets flattened against the surface there, or it comes back out in a different format or something like that. You could probably explain it better than me anyway.
Look, I don't really understand this. I mean, I guess the only analogy I can make is all the physics we can see in the world around us as humans. It changes when you get to the quantum scale, the subatomic scale. There's a new set of laws. And I guess, maybe this is a bit of Russian doll. Then inside the black hole, the two other sets of laws for physics we know, which is classical mechanics and quantum theory, becomes something else. And is it a singularity? Is it squashing matter into a single form? Is it freezing matter into a single form? Who knows? And who knows all the information that we carry with us in our wave frequencies, who knows where that goes or what happens to it. But that's the mystery of the black hole, and that's what people want to know.
Well, I rewatched Interstellar recently as well, and I still can't get over the whole going into the black hole thing. But maybe it is a tesseract in there that has been constructed. The other thing that I wanted to point out too was that there's a couple of just YouTubers that have done some interesting videos on that sort of thing, and I saw one that was quite interesting, which kind of, it was a bit simplistic, but essentially they represented space-time as a flat line, and they tried to explain why time slows down as you go towards a black hole, which effectively they tried to represent it as like a ball going along the flat surface of space-time, and then it would go down into basically the hole where the body that's got the gravitational pull is doing it. So if it's starting to do that and go down, that's effectively, it's not moving forward in time effectively. Like they tried to do it as a visual thing, and I thought that was quite clever. It might not sort of explain the proper nuance behind it, but at least it sort of gave you an idea of what was going on if you try to go anywhere near that black hole.
Yeah, well, that's it. The spaghettification, at the event horizon, and is effectively you're stretched. Part of you, falls into the black hole, and part of you is still outside. And what that must do to matter, it's mind-bending on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Steve, we might wrap it up there. Thought that was an interesting place to finish up. I'm probably going to be binge watching more stuff since our lockdown is going to be going, I don't know, until whenever we've got a majority vaccination thing happening, which apparently might be at the end of the month, might be next month. Who knows?
Oh, let's hope. It happens soon, and let's hope as many people as possible get vaxxed.
Absolutely. All right, so don't forget our website, scitechculture.com. You can get all of our links and content there. You can subscribe to our YouTube and Vimeo channels, our RSS feeds, and watch us on any and all of your devices. And we greatly appreciate your visit to our website. All right, so that's it for this episode. We'll catch you next time.